Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome to the daily forecast for Friday, June 7th, 2024. On this day of Venus, we have a waxing crescent moon. We are in the Gemini season, the Celtic tree month of Hawthorn, deer season, and the Pluto retrograde. Now for the details of today's astrological alignment. The sun, of course, is still in Gemini, mutable air, representing communication. The moon begins the day first quarter Gemini, mutable air, representing adaptability. Then at 7:16 a.m. Central Time, it goes void, of course, and then 7:41 a.m. Central Time, it enters the first quarter Cancer, a cardinal water sign representing sensitivity. So expect emotions to start rising to the surface and prepare accordingly for yourself and what might be coming from other people. Mercury is in Gemini, mutable air, representing insight. Venus is in Gemini, mutable air, representing the spendthrift. Mars is in Aries, cardinal fire, representing initiative. Jupiter is in Gemini, mutable air, representing questing. Saturn is in Pisces, mutable water, representing nostalgia. Uranus is in Taurus, fixed earth, representing renovation. Neptune is in Pisces, mutable water, representing imagination. And Pluto is retrograding Aquarius, fixed air, meaning we need to examine our intentions and remember our Pluto retrograde mantra: reflect, heal, and evolve. So today's moon phase, of course, as previously mentioned, is the waxing crescent. So this is the time to brainstorm, plan, and create. And for the Cancer moon, remember to do focus on the home, do create a nurturing atmosphere, and strengthen family bonds. Don't be too public about anything. So it might be a good day to stay off of social media if you can. Don't engage in objective tasks if you don't have to, and try to avoid high emotionalism. So, because Venus is in flighty Gemini, it does make it necessary for us to continue to watch over our finances, especially when it involves romantic matters, specifically, what it is that we're spending on our loved one. Sometimes a simple, low cost date is just as good as if you took them out to some fancy restaurant or did something, that was big and dramatic. Sometimes that that isn't actually what the relationship needs. And whenever we get these little hints to watch our money, especially in the current economic climate, it just seems prudent to just watch it, maybe be a little bit more low key about things. After all, spoiling your loved ones, it isn't about spending cash. It's about lavishing them with your time and your attention. That's what's really needed in order to strengthen those bonds. Now, for our tarot card of the day, we have the Fool, represented by Merlin, the magician himself, the wizard of all of the wizards. He represents new beginnings, healing, and risk taking. So I guess the question is, are you ready to go on an adventure? And are you going to find yourself in a position of Bilbo Baggins, and you might get swept up in an adventure quite against your will? Anything is possible, so just be aware there could be opportunities or things to explore today. Today's Celtic triad reads: there are three things and any who move them are accursed: the boundary of land, the course of water, and the sign of a road or track. So, land boundaries, or otherwise borders. Wars are fought over border infringements. There's a huge argument in this country right now over border security and what exactly that means, and who is entitled to be here and who is not, and how to handle people who come anyway without invitation or permission. It is a very serious matter, and it is not something for us to say, oh, well, if people were just more kind hearted or if people were just more firm, it would all sort each other out. No, no, no. Land boundaries disputes are never just about the boundary. It's never just this intellectual discussion. There's always something deeper and more human going on underneath it. So just be mindful of that, I suppose. It's not a good idea to start muddying those lines. It always goes badly. And if you don't believe me, just look at the historical record whenever someone decided, by golly, I think I'd like my neighbor's land, and see how that worked out. Then changing the course of water. That can be absolutely disastrous to agricultural lands and to communities, especially if they are in an area where perhaps water is a bit sparse, or, they had a water supply that was just fine. But if you divert it in any way, it's going to cause serious amounts of suffering. And, just look out west in the United States. There is always a perennial issue with water in the desert. I mean, who'd have thunk? And there's always very active political fights about exactly who is entitled to what water and to what degree. And there's all kinds of crazy laws in some places about how you can't even collect rainwater on the rare occasion when it does rain, because that doesn't belong to you. You know, it fell on your land and you took the trouble to scoop it up, but still, it doesn't belong to you according to the law. Um, it causes problems. It causes problems when we are not building our societies in a way that is conforming to what nature is already doing. When we try to force it to go some other way, it causes problems. It does not end well for us. And then a sign of a road or a track, you know, where the beaten path is, being able to navigate, have directions. I mean, we need to be able to find out who we are. And these days, people are so dependent upon Google and other roadmap apps on their phones and whatnot. I mean, can you imagine if one day just poof, the internet was gone and people did not have that? Would they be able to get from A to B? I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have all of these navigational assistants, and it was quite an entertaining thing the way some people would give directions. How they managed someone to actually find the place they were giving directions to, I don't quite know. It's we need to be able to do this. It's all about clear communication and being able for people to actually get what they're needing to go, and being able to avoid places that would be dangerous for them as well. So definitely these would be things to avoid. Maybe we should be sending copies of this particular triad to various officials in government. I don't know that they would pay any attention, but if they got enough of this sort of thing, I imagine they would at least, oh, by golly, everybody's sending me this. I wonder why. Oh, not a bright lot, politicians. There's a reason why it takes so much to move them. All right. Next up, today's magical intention is enchantment. For that, we have the color white, the foxglove plant, the snake, and crystal quartz. So, whenever life becomes less than magical or things just get a bit too real, like it is kind of right now, what we can do is we can activate and make use of natural magics that are always around us in the world. Sometimes just sitting out and allowing ourselves to become attuned to those energies that can help restore the spirit. So, there's never a lack of enchantment. Oftentimes we cannot see it, or we have been overwhelmed by things that are not good uses of energy, and it's we need to remember that it's our job to start healing ourselves. Then for today's pagan practice, it's Friday, so that means we have an opportunity to honor a love deity, whichever one you most connect with. I found a rather lovely picture of the goddess Anye on Pinterest. So, if she's a deity that perhaps you've worked with in the past, or you've been curious about working with her, Fridays would probably be a good idea to direct some attention to her. This is also a good day for us to work on our third eye chakras. You could learn something new about your Venus sign. And of course, as always, there are free natal charts available online. You just have to do a search for them. So if you don't know what your planetary placements are, you can find that information out. It does help if you know your exact birth time, because that allows them to know, what house falls into what place, and which is very good for you to get a much more nuanced reading of your astrological chart. But if you don't, they just kind of use it. I think they use noon as just kind of the general all-purpose time, and they base things off of that. You won't have your houses, but you will know what sign goes into what planet, and that's a lot of information that you could really be working with. Today's also a good day to do something nice for your spouse. And again, to what we said earlier, this does not mean spending an outlandish amount of money or even spending any money out on them. Sometimes, if we just take care of a chore that perhaps they've been meaning to get to, and they haven't for whatever reason, instead of castigating them for it, why not just, if it's within your power, take care of it, let them see that it's taken care of and it's off their plate. They might be so grateful that they will in turn do something very nice for you. So, it's all about creating a positive feedback loop. So another day to do that. And then, speaking of love, if you are of a poetic or literary bent, perhaps you could write a love poem if inspired, or perhaps you could ask for divine inspiration if that project appeals to you. And then last but not least for today, we have our journal prompt. June is the traditional month for weddings. And if you have any weddings coming up, you might be thinking about what kind of blessing, even if silently, that you would want to bestow upon newlyweds. What kind of good wishes do you think would be best suited for people who are just starting to walk this road of facing life together? That could be something interesting to think about. And that is what I have for you guys today. I'll let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.